So I mean, I only saw our kids at the dedication,
Yeah.
and little girl would run. What's your daughter's name?
Allie.
Allie would run around, and like I was standing over there for some reason. She would like, wait,
Allie and Luke.
Luke.
Oh man, everything's good.
Shabbat bride. As we get to the last line of the verse, we'll bow to the right and to the left. Teret bala, b'simcha u'tzohala, tochen b'nei ha'segula, lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat, nekabela, lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat, nekabela. If you will please remain standing and turn to page 6 for Baruch Hu. Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai. It's Adonai, Baruch Adonai, HaMevorach, Le'olam Va'ed, Le'olam Va'ed. You be seated. Turn, please, to page 7 for Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadita. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, v'shachveinu ufkumeinu, nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha, le'olam va'ed, ki hem chayenu, Ve'orech yameinu, uvahem nege yomam balayla. Ve'avatcha al tasir mimenu leolamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amaho Yisrael. You will all please rise for Shema V'ahavta. The way we will do this is we will read it all the way through as a community in Hebrew, followed by, we'll turn to page 9 and read it together in English. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. And then silently to yourself. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'aderech uvshochbecha, uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot beineinecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha. Now please turn to page 9 and we will recite together as one large Orlando Jewish community. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Praised be the name of the one whose glorious sovereignty is forever and ever. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all that is yours. These words that I command you this day shall be taken to heart. Teach them again and again to your children. Speak of them when you sit in your home, when you walk on your way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand and as a symbol above your eyes. Inscribe them upon the doorposts of your homes and on your gates. Please be seated and turn to page 11 for Vishamra. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat v'hasot et ha-Shabbat v'dorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat v'hasot et ha-Shabbat v'dorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, ohuti le'olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam berit olam. Well, please now turn back to page 10 for Mi Chamocha.
What did we do last time?
One down.
I think either one is fine. Let's do one now. Okay. Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you? Adonai, who is like you? Adonai.
All right, it's at this part of the service that I like to take a moment and talk about the Torah portion of the week. You're excited?
I'm always excited.
Oh, good. That's good feedback. I like that. There are certain moments in the Tanakh that have entered our general popular culture. Certainly the image of Moses standing at the edge of the Red Sea and lifting his hands as Adonai parted the water, allowing the fleeing Israelites safety, has become so well known that high school student sections have started using this as a celebration in the middle of basketball games. If you don't believe me, you should look it up on YouTube. The video is amazing. A student is dressed as Moses, and the Red Sea parts, and he runs up the stairs. It is incredible. I think the team actually lost the game, though, so maybe it's not awesome. In the same vein, the image of the golden calf, the idea of a false idol to pray to. What's that? And what we read about this week has become really, really well known. I want to add a little bit of perspective on why I think we should have a little bit of empathy for the Israelites. Talk a little bit about leadership. And talk a little bit about the way in which maybe Adonai was not being a terrific leader at this moment. This parsha, this is Ki Tisa, it opens innocuously enough. Certainly it talks about a census of all the Israelites, but of course all the Israelite men, because that's the only people who would have counted in a census at the time. And then as a brief aside to talk about the way that Adonai has specifically assigned different artisans the responsibility of constructing different parts of the tabernacle. All right, so far, so much in line with the most recent few Torah portions. There's details and measurements, and it doesn't really get interesting until we read about how the fact that Moses has gone up the mountain to speak with Adonai. And the Israelites, who had been, remember, led out of Egypt by Moses, looked to him as their leader. They were uncertain when or if he would come back. Yes, Aaron was still there. And presumably you can think that the court system that Moses set up, that we read about a few weeks ago, still functions. But without Moses, the people were getting uneasy. And they turned to Aaron. They demanded of him, make us a god who shall go before us. For that fellow Moses who brought us from the land of Egypt, we do not know what has happened to him. I really like the translation of the word to fellow, which feels very proper. Aaron looks around and sees the distress of the people, and maybe he's fearing a mutiny. Maybe he feels that he is going to be attacked, that violence is in the cards. He instructs them to take all the gold they have and melt it down. And he shapes it into a golden calf, offering it as a stand-in for people to pray to, somewhere a leader. We know, because we've read the Ten Commandments already, that this violates the second commandment. And certainly there's be an expectation that Adonai would be angry. But it seems to me, on reading this, that the response of Adonai to this is entirely disproportionate. Adonai commands Moses to tell the house of Levi to kill all the people, men, women, and children, who were involved in this idolatry. That's 3,000 men, women, and children. This is an attempt to force the Israelites back in line. He refers to the Israelites as a stiff-necked people. Not exactly a leadership style that would win many followers, except those who are afraid of being killed. Which leads me to my major point. Adonai is at best a flawed leader in this circumstance. You understand anger. But the reality is that Adonai fundamentally misunderstood the golden calf. As I think the idea of a golden calf has also been fundamentally misunderstood. This is an election year. We're going to hear the term golden calf thrown around quite a lot without nuance or context. But what I want to make sure that we are clear about is that the Israelites were not afraid of the lack of Adonai. They were clear that Adonai existed. He had parted the Red Sea, had given the 10 Commandments. This was not, anybody who was still confused was not paying attention. No, what the people were afraid of was the lack of Moses. He had disappeared. And when you go up a mountain like that, there's no guarantee that you're coming back. There was no way to be clear that Moses was coming back. And desperate for leadership, they turned to Aaron, not a natural-born leader, who sanctioned the idolatry. But let's have some empathy for this people who had, after all, not that long ago, been slaves, had then been freed in the middle of the night, had seen the water part of the Red Sea, had wandered in the desert, had received the 10 Commandments, and now had no leader, and were still in the middle of the desert. Let's just acknowledge what the context of the golden calf is. This is not to say the golden calf was a good idea. No, it was bad. But was it killing 3,000 people bad? And that's sort of a decision that we have to make as we read this. Leaders have to have the capacity to acknowledge mistakes. And no one come after me and say that, well, Adonai, this supreme being, has no need to do so. Adonai has already done this. After Noah and the flood, we already have an example of Adonai recognizing an error. So this is not something that is unprecedented in the Torah. As I was preparing this, I was thinking one night earlier this week, or maybe last weekend, I was tired, and I have 2 kids, and I was cranky, and I snapped at my son over something. I don't know what it was. It wasn't my response was disproportionate. And so when I was reading to him later that night, before Captain Underpants, you guys read Captain Underpants? My son is real into it. Not in my house, clearly. We don't ban books in my house. But I made sure to tell him, look, Daddy was tired and cranky and in a bad mood, and I should not have used that kind of tone. And he said, what are you talking about? But I wanted to model the idea that it's okay to say, hey, I was wrong. As we keep going through the story of Moses, which is really the rest of the year, we're going to have a lot of opportunity to praise his leadership. We praised it when he created the court system. Of course, he listened to Yitro. We will praise it many other times. But I think it's also important to recognize that Moses disappeared up a mountain, leaving the people without a leader, which is not awesome. We all know what it's like to have a bad coach, a coach who gets on you for no reason. We know what it's like to have a boss who does not want to hear your opinion. But we also know the pleasure of working for someone or under someone or learning from someone who sees you. Doesn't mean that person is perfect, but recognizes what you need. I want us to keep, as we go into the rest of the story of Moses, this idea of Tanakh as a reflection of leadership in the back of our heads, and how this affects the narrative and how it affects the journey of the Israelites to the Promised Land. And I wanted to take another small moment and change gears for a second. I've tried to avoid using this platform to talk about general world events, really since October 7th. Not really what this is for. It should be a place of unity and a place of safety. And these are things that we are constantly bombarded with. But this week, I don't think I can avoid talking about Berkeley and talking about Harvard. For those of you who are unaware, at Berkeley, which is University of California in Berkeley, California, just outside San Francisco. They're having a speaker, an Israeli speaker, just a speaker. And the event was attended by a number of Jewish students and a mob, I think is the only real way to describe it, basically shut down the event, breaking windows, assault. There was injuries. It was violence. These are Jewish students on a campus, a public school campus in our country. And then the next day or the day after, I'd have to look, a concert by an Israeli singer put on by the Harvard Chabad was similarly disrupted. And Seeing these events and the response or lack thereof, and reading the accounts of the students who had gone through it, and the advisors, my colleagues who work at Harvard, my colleagues who work at Berkeley, it just makes me grateful that we can gather every Friday night and Saturday and nosh and tabling without fear of assault. Doesn't mean UCF or Rollins are perfect. I would like to be very clear, but I'm grateful to be able to gather with all of you tonight in this space. Shabbat Shalom. If you'll please turn to page 12 for Chatzi Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabah b'yama divrach chirutei v'emlich malchutei b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayetecho beit Yisrael bagala uv'ismahan kariv v'yamaru amen. Yehei shmei rabah mivorach Le'olam olam me'almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalam shemei nekudasha le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran b'yalma V'yamaru. Amen. If you'll please rise to turn to page 13 for the Amida. We will read together the first 2 pages, and then there will be time for silent individual prayer, whether you're using the words here in the Siddur or having your own individual conversation with Adonai. There will be space for that at the end. Please, page 13. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Koneh Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Umevig Ula Livnei V'Nehem, L'man Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. Turn the page. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye Hakol Atah Rav Le'Hoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Berofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Baal Kivurot, Umido Melech Meimid, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'emanata hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. There's time for silent prayer. When you finish or when you are done conversing with Adonai, you may be seated. No rush. I'm with celebrating our.
Doing numbers first.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the key? I forgot. We just did it. Right? Okay.
No.
We did it.
No,
we did it.
let's try. Yeah. Go ahead.
I think it was on 5. Because it's an octave.
Shalom Elamcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki atahu melech hador lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech hador lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Please turn now to page 19 from Misha Berach. Misha Berach Avoteinu Mikor HaBracha Le'imoteinu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing. Let us say Amen. We share Beirach Imoteinu Mikor HaBracha Le'avoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, renewal of body, renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Please turn to page 20 and rise for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, la'tet gedula li'otzeh breshit, shelo asanu k'goyei ha'aratzot, ve'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, ve'goraleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ ומושב עיקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגבי מרומים הוא אלוהינו אינו אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו ככתוב בתורתו V'yadata hayom v'hashevota el levavecha. Ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim b'shamayim mima'al v'yal ha'aretz mitachat einod. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol ha'aretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. If y'all will please remain standing as we recite Mourner's Kaddish together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah v'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayachon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael ba'agala u'bizman kariv v'yamru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam v'lamei amayim. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei l'kudashah b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran v'yalma v'yamru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemayim v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru amen. Please be seated. All right. Let's see what's coming up this week. All right. So on Monday, there is Schmooze and Stroll. Meet here at 2:30. Tuesday, there is Kindness Cart. That's at 10:30. And then there's a lunch and learn at 12 o'clock. We will be talking about Jewish summer camps. Lindsay and I are going to be doing it. And on Wednesday from 10 to 12, there is URJ. I'm just reading, guys. I'm just reading off our calendar. URJ 6 Points Bagels at Hillel. There's cookie decorating on Memory Mall at 12 o'clock. And there is a first-year baked potato social. Everyone hear my tone about baked potatoes? Baked potato social and speed dating, Hillel second floor at 5:30. And I want to everyone, including Rollins students, to hear this. At 6 o'clock here, I believe, or maybe somewhere else. I don't think it actually says. We're having an Arab-Israeli speaker, Israeli Christian speaker. Yosef Haddad is going to be here at 6 o'clock, co-sponsored by IAC. It will be somewhere at 6 o'clock. I think they're emailing the location the day of, and it's not on my calendar, so I can't tell you where it is. On Thursday, there's coffee and camp chats with Coleman ambassadors from 10 to 2 at Starbucks. And on Friday, 1 week from tonight, there is Camp Shabbat. Lindsay and Jordan will be leading it. The phrase here that I'm reading is, quote, wearing white/khaki is encouraged but not required. We will not kick you out if you're wearing something different than that. That is all my information for you. Anybody with questions about events? Yeah. I'm reading that's a Lindsay question. You know, Lindsay would definitely know. Because all it says is URJ 6 Points Bagels in Hillel. That's my entire information about it. Thank you. As soon as we wrap up, we will go next door. There is going to be food. We will say Kiddush and Motzi. I'm going to put that back in place.
Probably a good idea.
Probably a good idea, right? What's that?
We're doing the lower
Odyavo shalom aleinu. 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 Salam aleinu ve'akol. Salam. Salam, Salam, Aleinu Ve'Kol